Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Today, we're going to talk about the way that horses communicate. And in English, we have neigh, right? Is that neigh? In Chinese, we say si. Well, these are English or Chinese. They are human languages, and each language pick a best representation of what the people in this language hear what the horses were saying, like try to imitate the horse sound. And I'm sure everybody have heard how horses make their, like when they do their voicing out, it's long lasting. And I'm pretty sure like I never get close to horse to hear them making a sound. But just from afar, I can still hear it's a high volume and sometimes high pitch, long lasting sound with a lot of vibrations, vibratos in between. So horse as a big animal, right? Big body, they make big sound. And humans, we don't have the same vocal cord or body as a chamber to make sound like that. So for each language to pick up a word to describe the way horses make their voice is a challenge, I would say. But I grew up in Chinese and I always picture just label, almost like a convenient band-aid to label a word that's a s as a horse sound. At least s when we pronounce it, like I kind of put the pitch kind of high. I don't say s like low low one, but kind of a s like a higher pitch sound to make the sense of yeah, this is a horse voice. But I'm not sure, like in English, when you pronounce neigh, like neigh, maybe it's probably two different vocabularies of horse. I'm pretty sure horses have a wide range of sound making. It's not just one way. So s would be the, I guess, the more communicating longer, like a further traveling sound, and the neigh is probably more like a humming sound of the horse. I don't know, but yeah, two languages, and maybe someday I will do this two language comparison of how uh, each language capture animal sound. That's an interesting way because language is about uh, describing our life, but because in our life we have domesticated animals or wild animals, that if we try to imitate their sound, how we represent that, right? That's an interesting phenomenon of one species representation of another species voice making. Okay, so in simplified traditional, they look the same, and 2,000 years ago's dictionary is missing this mouse icon. And this mouse symbol on the left side simply say this is related to voicing, to speaking, to sound making. And but if we look at this icon on the right side, majorly two parts. Even if here, a separate entity, you'll see four different like non-touching separate pieces floating on the screen, right? But on the right, this question mark thing with a curve thing next to it is one entity. That is this. And you can see in the simplifying contemporary versions, they are connected so that people know this is one piece. They are not coming floating as two pieces. But this is chopping off the log. So it's axing off the wood. And that's visually depicting a log and a piece of it fall off. So this character was used to describe the axe itself, but instead of describing the tool, we're describing the application of the tool. So the result of axing something off is going to look like this. So that's how, so this is the axe. And then the left side, even if it looks like, again, two parts, but you basically can see a basket sitting on top of a table. How visual is that, right? And according to scholars, this basket is filled with a certain fruit. So, of course, it's part of like a food processing. I would guessing from hunter-gatherer age that we would have this axing would be already kind of nature material processing, right? Okay, you chop them into useful shapes and chunks, and then the left side is edible. Nature's resource processing. You gather them into a basket before consumption. So both are activities kind of essential in the past. And eventually, this word kind of loses grip to reality because these activities of probably chopping off fruit trees, not fruit trees, sorry, gather fruits into a basket or chopping off wood, eventually in later society was not that commonly seen. So that activity was not like reenacted in later, more developed societies. So that character eventually become more abstract, kind of a sound carrying an abstract, like referring word. So 是 in Chinese, even in English, like no, I mean classical Chinese, it means a referral, kind of like it, it, this or them. However, we're not repeating the same thing again. We use this 是 so that in the context, you know exactly what object or name or noun, concept, ideas, or even full sentence or the full argument you're talking about. So this is become this linkage word, referral word to some bigger thing, however big you define by the context. So it becomes an abstract thing from an activity in everyday life to an abstract concept in our language that it continued in our language. Now, the sound carried over into this particular character with the mouse symbol so that we know it's the sound we're talking about. That sounds like a 斯. So I guess Chinese audiolize, not visualize, but try to capture the sound of horse as a 斯 sound. Okay. All right, 思鸣, 思 is the horse sound, right? 鸣 is a bird sound. So 鸣, as you can see, we have the mouse symbol plus a bird symbol on there. And that is an overgeneralization because different birds make different sound, right? The other day, I just noticed how a crow makes sound. Interesting. It's almost like a knock on a piece of wood, briefly, very, very quick sound. If you don't pay attention, you would not realize that's actually a bird making a sound and kind of repeatedly, but with a spacing, with a long interval in between the two sounds. And so you almost don't hear it unless you pay attention. And I'm not sure the crow, what message the crow was trying to send at that moment. But definitely I heard different bird language. It sounds totally different. But here, Chinese is overgeneralize all the birds' linguals into this 鸣, this 思鸣, the bird symbol on the right, so that you know, okay, this is bird sound in general, and you can picture in however your favorite bird song in there. All right, so that's one expression, 思鸣, together, I guess, can describe how the horse make their sound. Sometimes, if it especially a long-lasting sound, almost like a melody, and it's long, shrilling sound, that's kind of 嘶鸣. 嘶哑 is totally different. It's no longer singing like quality. It's more like when you're coughing, when you're sick, your vocal cord was rusty, and then you have this coarse sound. So 嘶 here, instead of high pitch, loud volume sound, it becomes coarse, becomes like a lower pitch and even highly rusty, not smooth sound. And ya is, well, ya means mute. So 嘶哑 means it's hardly audible. So it dip 嘶哑 together depict when a person catch a cold, and then you would hear the voice kind of lower pitch, almost like 1 octave lower than the usual person's pitch level. So that's 嘶哑. 声嘶力竭, we say the voice, 声, okay, used as can be any sound, but 声嘶力竭, of course, we're using it to describe a human behavior. So here I plug in its voice, but it can be any sound, okay? 嘶, and we use this hoarse sound on human voice quality. So when you have your voice become like the s sound or the neigh sound of a horse, then that's the kind of s. So it's kind of a high pitch, exhaustive way of your yelling or shouting. That's kind of a vocal cord hurting kind of sound. And 力竭, li is strength, right? And 竭 exhausted. So it's almost like somebody is so desperate that they utter the sound that's you're trying to send your voice out in a desperate way. And 声嘶力竭, I'm trying to recall application or the situation to use that. So 声嘶力竭 could be like you try to call attention to something, but wasn't given that attention. So even try harder, eventually exhaust your voice. So that's 声嘶力竭. All right. So here is just a horse making the sound. And I find this is an interesting angle to look at a horse from below the chin. So you can almost hear, or even if it's a visual cue, but you can almost hear the sound the horse is making right now. And in Chinese, we call it 嘶. Thank you for your time. See you another